thing. So at $120 later on, because I said I was going to prepay it, because you know what? It went down to $100 per 60-minute commercial airtime. Now, if you have 90, that's what, 125, $150 for 1 week. Turn around and sell a 15-seconder spot PSA commercial for $15 or even $25. Fuli, Seafood City, all of them came. The airlines, the hotels in the Philippines, the banks, the money remittance, they come in. Before you know it, it's self-sustaining.
So you were with that for 14 years. Who took over the station after you left? Who took over? Who ran the station after you left for Phil American
No, it's
Radio?
not. I just had to let it go.
You had to shut it completely down?
Yeah.
After it was that successful?
Yeah. It's not a station.
Wow.
Mind you, it's not the station. People have a notion that it's a station. It's a program.
Oh, okay.
The station is existing, owned by another network. You just go there and buy radio airtime. Mm-hmm. They have open spaces where they have a bit, and I say, I'd like to bid for that and see whether you can sell that to me. Sure, just as long as it conforms with, and nothing objectionable, nothing. It's for community. I pioneered into that here.
Using radio for community outreach.
Yes.
That's a great idea.
And so I'd like to revive that and make it run again, because more than ever, the old folks miss it. They say, Sluggo, when are you going back on the air?
When you're talking about reaching the marginalized, the people who are shut in, who, in a way, your radio program becomes like a doctor's house call and helps to meet their needs, gets the younger Filipino community and other Pacific Asian Islanders interested in getting mom and pop help or get them out the door. Probably didn't even know the place existed. See, this is something I want to share with Chief Craig Korn of the Menominee tribe. I was on the phone with him yesterday. I was telling him about IDIC. So that's why I'm videotaping you, is I don't want to miss anything you're saying.
Oh, yeah. And the other part is the city is very hot on it now in the county, because they'd like us.
What city?
Seattle. And they're studying it now. King County is taking note of it now, because I told them, you know how to reach the grassroots? I pick up the phone and read their letters, and I can interview you at home and give you a 15-minute window where we talk about the programs available to this invisible population. And they like it so much. They say, in the American nonprofit community service industry, they hire or employ outreach workers to go from door to door to knock. And that's expensive.
Oh, yeah.
I said, with $150 one weekend and radio, you cover.
I always make the joke that the tribes find a way to get the old people out of the house or out of the teepee by providing casinos for them, and they show up with their wheelchairs and walkers and find a way to get there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of an outreach.
And the newscast that we give, we write, I used to write newscasts and say, this is the latest development in your backyard, in your own community. Something you'll never get anywhere but here locally. It's the birthday of so-and-so. He just turned 102 years old. Just passed away. Details for the funeral. Old folks issues. Now you say, in our culture, no one talks about end-of-life things because it's a no-no thing. It's something that's taboo. Well, let's talk about it,
How about the preservation of language and culture? I mean, even the tribes work desperately not only to preserve and document language, but they also are trying to teach it to the youth, to carry on the culture of the tribes. And I know you said that your radio station had put out different programs in certain dialects.
Oh, yes. Yes, we have 87 dialects as of last count in the Philippines. And we want those born here and the born there. The radio becomes the bridge, the gap. We interview someone born here, second and third generation, because they have no idea about the forefathers' homeland. So we get someone who's a first generation, and they dialogue on the air.
And how about the kids who are out in the rice fields in the Philippines? How are they getting connected with the radio?
Well, it's transistor radio, so they have their own hero worship in Pacquiao and all that, and what's happening to their favorite basketball player.
Well, how do the youth in the Philippines connect to the radio program?
Well, you have the computer, but what we'd like to do is hook up with a network in the Philippines so that there's a window. Maybe in every weekly program, you have a 15 to 20-minute window where you're at daytime here, it's evening time there, prime time. So if you're hooked up there and you have an opportunity to dialogue and say, happy birthday to my grandfather who is now living in Davao, and through that radio in Davao.
Important cultural connection maintenance.
Oh my goodness.
And
that'd be dynamite.
And the other thing, too, other than the kids sitting on the Carabao listening to transistor radio in the rice field, they've got that direct connection to home. And keeping that connection is so important.
Linking.
They talk about urban Indians in America. They're Indians that are living off of the reservations who have, quote unquote, assimilated out into mainstream culture, and the connections get lost. And so a lot of them are more interested in what's going on in the tribe than the people who are on the reservation, because guess what? They're not there every day.
Here's another idea. We might be planting a big seed here. If the tribe, Native Americans, can begin to say your roots program or your native seed program. America is a land of immigrants and a land of the true native. They could be a link up. If they fund Mondays for Filipinos, Tuesdays for Italians, Wednesdays, and do something like this, where you have the meeting of generations in a radio station. Wow. And you connect this to the homeland, and the consulate and the embassy is involved, and the airlines involved. It's a self-generating thing.
I know the city of Seattle is really into collecting Indian artwork. I was down at Harborview yesterday at the Vital Statistics Department. They had a beautiful eagle hanging up. Yeah,
Brick Museum is a sample. It's at the point of the spear in tribal.
Well, Seattle's an Indian name.
Oh yeah, himself. See, we are at the gateway to the Pacific. If something like this is done by an honest-to-goodness, culturally sensitive tribal group, and begin to invite other immigrant groups, wow! Think of the potential of that as an institution that could go on and celebrate what America is all about.
Yeah, the one question I know a lot of the tribes are going to ask is, what do we do for Native Americans since we are an international drop-in center? How are we outreaching to them?
Well, we could be collaborators on how to navigate the terrain. They are natives of the place. Educate us, because we are from halfway across the globe. And by doing that, we create linkages, alliances. We're engaged as people from other cultures.
Well, the Filipinos are a conquered people. They're conquered by the Spanish, just like the American Indian was conquered by the Western Europeans.
We share historical.
Yeah, and Chinese in background, because Filipinos are Chinese and Spanish, and American Indians originally walked to the United States from China.
If you harness electronic media and come up with cultural linkages as a theme and as a program hosted by Native Americans, it's a natural thing. And then you are able to expand this and become now an institution in North America, where the Native Americans are really projecting themselves as the real hosts of this beloved land, benevolent land, where many cultures come to.
So you want to start a radio program again here in Seattle, where you're building that connection for the tribes, the urban Indians who have no way of getting in contact with those back home, as well as people across the Pacific Ocean, kind of like a bridge. The radio becomes a bridge, especially for teaching culture and language and respect for elders, and showing that people in their 20s and 30s can care for grandma and grandpa. I know when I talked to Chief Corn yesterday, I mentioned that Gino here, Navarro, was thinking about starting a youth outreach program, working with kids who are in trouble, fighting drugs and alcohol, trying to get them back into school. And the whole idea of this youth outreach was to pair young kids with older people, and then they'd be mentors for them. And he thought it was a great idea. He said on the reservation they're doing something very similar right now.
Yes.
He got all excited.
And with the experience of Native Americans here, you are sharing it with us. We will know how to navigate and help one another. It's a mutual, we'll all be citizens of this great big land together forever.
Well, Sluggo, thank you for letting me interview you today. I think it's a great idea. I think it's something that can be pitched, and hopefully more people will log on to idicSeniorCenter.org, find out more about the International Drop-In Center here in Seattle. And as the executive director, you're doing a bang-up job.
Thank you, Sean. We're not saying it's going to solve the problems of mankind, but we're still there with help from folks like you whose hearts are in the right place. How can we go wrong?
Excellent. Thank you.